How to learn words. Maya stared blankly at the English textbook, a deep sigh escaping her lips. The sheer volume of new vocabulary felt like an insurmountable mountain, each word a tiny, unyielding pebble. She dreamed of effortless conversations, of understanding native speakers without the constant, frustrating internal translation. Her English journey felt stuck, stalled in a quagmire of confusion. For weeks, she had been trying the traditional methods, rote memorization of long lists, endless grammar exercises. Yet, when someone spoke, or when she tried to form a sentence, her mind went completely blank. The words scattered like startled birds, leaving her tongue-tied and disheartened, questioning her own ability to ever truly grasp the language. The thought of speaking English publicly sent shivers down her spine, a cold dread washing over her. She knew the theory, but the practical application seemed miles away, an unreachable destination. This feeling of inadequacy fueled her frustration, making every study session feel like an uphill battle, devoid of any real progress or joy. Then, one evening, she stumbled upon an article titled, "Unlock Your Vocab Power." It suggested learning words in context, not just isolated definitions. Maya decided to try. She started noticing new words and sentences, understanding their nuances, connecting them to familiar concepts, making the learning process far more intuitive and sticky. She began creating personalized flashcards, not just with the word and definition, but with example sentences she found or created herself. This active engagement transformed the daunting task of vocabulary acquisition into a manageable, even enjoyable, daily ritual. Each new word felt like a small victory, a tiny piece of the puzzle fitting into place. Instead of endless lists, she focused on thematic vocabulary, learning words related to travel, food, or technology. This approach made words more relevant and easier to recall during actual conversations. It was a complete shift from abstract memorization to practical application, making words feel alive and useful for real communication. Spaced repetition software became her new best friend. It ensured she revisited words just as she was about to forget them, solidifying them in her long-term memory. This systematic approach eliminated the overwhelming feeling of having too many words to learn, breaking the process into digestible and effective chunks every single day. Her entire way of learning English began to transform. It wasn't about textbooks anymore. It was about immersion. She realized that English wasn't merely a subject to study, but a vibrant tool for communication, discovery, and connection. This change in perspective was truly revolutionary for her progress. Maya started integrating English into her daily life in small, consistent ways. She changed her phone language to English, read short news articles, and even tried to label objects around her house in English. This subtle yet constant exposure helped her brain subconsciously adapt to the new language patterns, fostering a natural acquisition. She discovered that learning was most effective when it felt like play, not work. She joined online communities, watched vlogs about her hobbies in English, and even started journaling her thoughts in simple sentences. This organic approach made the process less stressful and more sustainable in the long run. The traditional rigid structure of grammar rules began to loosen for her. She learned grammar through example, by noticing patterns in the English she consumed, rather than memorizing complex conjugations. This intuitive method allowed her to absorb the language naturally, much like a child acquiring their first language. Next, she tackled her How to Improve Your Listening Skills challenge. At first, native speakers sounded like a rapid-fire blur, an incomprehensible jumble of sounds. It was incredibly frustrating trying to piece together even basic sentences, often leading to misunderstandings and awkward silences in conversations. She started with content designed for learners, slower speech, clear pronunciation. Slowly, she progressed to TED Talks with subtitles, then podcasts on topics she already knew well in her native language. This gradual increase in difficulty built her confidence and accustomed her ears to different accents and speaking speeds. Active listening became her mantra. Instead of just hearing, she focused on understanding the main idea, identifying keywords, and even trying to predict what the speaker would say next. She'd pause, rewind, and re-listen to challenging sections, ensuring she grasped every single nuance, turning passive listening into an active exercise. Maya also began to pay attention to intonation and stress patterns, realizing how much meaning they conveyed. She noticed how questions rose in pitch, how important words were emphasized. This deeper understanding of spoken English significantly improved her comprehension and made conversations much less daunting for her. Listening to the same audio several times helped immensely. The first time, she focused on general meaning. The second, on specific words. The third, on pronunciation and rhythm. This multi-pass technique allowed her to extract maximum learning from every listening session, making her ears sharper with each repetition. Her biggest hurdle was how to talk in English. The fear of making mistakes was paralyzing, holding her back from even attempting a simple conversation. She knew she needed to speak, but the words felt stuck in her throat, a heavy knot of apprehension that tightened whenever an opportunity arose. Her breakthrough came when she decided to talk to herself. She narrated her day, described objects around her, and even held imaginary conversations in English. This low-pressure environment allowed her to experiment with phrases and build fluency without the fear of judgment from others, building a foundation of confidence. She started small, practicing common phrases and simple greetings with anyone she felt comfortable with, even if it was just a quick hello, how are you, to a cashier. Each tiny interaction chipped away at her anxiety, proving that talking in English was possible and often less scary than she imagined. Recording herself speaking was initially cringeworthy but incredibly effective. She could hear her pronunciation, identify awkward pauses, and notice repetitive phrasing. It was like having a personal speech coach, providing objective feedback that helped her refine her spoken English significantly, transforming her delivery. She adopted the mindset that mistakes were learning opportunities, not failures. This shift in perspective freed her from the burden of perfectionism, allowing her to speak more freely and naturally. The more she spoke, the more comfortable she became, and the more she learned from her errors. Maya keenly observed how people speak English. She watched interviews, documentaries, and daily vlogs, paying close attention not just to the words, but to the natural flow, the pauses, the filler words people used. This observation gave her insights into authentic, conversational English patterns. She noticed that native speakers didn't always use perfect grammar in casual conversation, and they often used contractions and slang. This realization lessened her own pressure to be grammatically flawless and encouraged her to adopt a more natural, informal style when appropriate, making her sound more authentic. She started mimicking phrases and intonation patterns she heard, even when alone. This shadowing technique helped her internalize the rhythm and melody of English, making her own speech sound more natural and less like a direct translation from her native language, improving her flow. Understanding common idioms and phrasal verbs became a priority. She realized how frequently they appeared in everyday conversation and how understanding them was crucial for true comprehension. Learning these expressions made her sound more like a native speaker and enhanced her overall fluency significantly. She also paid attention to how people used body language and gestures to convey meaning. This nonverbal communication is an integral part of speaking any language, and by observing it, she could better understand and express herself in English, adding another layer to her conversational skills. Her journey to how to improve your English became a holistic endeavor. It wasn't about isolated skills anymore, but about integrating everything she learned into a continuous, reinforcing cycle. Consistency, she found, was the absolute key to making steady, noticeable progress over time, even with small daily efforts. She set small, achievable goals. Learn 5 new words a day, listen to 15 minutes of a podcast, speak English for 10 minutes. These small wins accumulated, building momentum and keeping her motivated without feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of the task, turning large goals into manageable steps. Maya understood that improvement was not linear. There would be plateaus and even moments of regression, but she learned to push through them, trusting the process and reminding herself of how far she had already come. Persistence was her greatest ally in this challenging but rewarding journey of language acquisition. Seeking feedback became essential. She asked her online language partners to correct her mistakes gently, focusing on patterns rather than every single error. This constructive criticism helped her identify weaknesses and target specific areas for improvement, accelerating her learning curve significantly in every interaction. She celebrated every milestone, no matter how small. A successful short conversation, understanding a complex phrase, reading an entire article without needing a dictionary. These affirmations reinforced her belief in her ability and kept her spirits high, making the entire learning process enjoyable and rewarding. The concept of listen and practice became foundational. She understood that simply listening passively wasn't enough. Active engagement was crucial. She needed to process the input and then try to produce similar output herself, creating a strong feedback loop for effective learning and retention. While listening to podcasts or watching videos, she would pause and repeat sentences aloud, trying to match the speaker's pronunciation and intonation. This shadowing technique directly connected her listening comprehension with her speaking ability, making her spoken English sound more natural and fluent over time. She also used dictation exercises, listening to a short segment and then writing down exactly what she heard helped her pinpoint specific words she was missing and improve her spelling and grammar simultaneously. This active recall solidified her understanding of spoken English. When practicing speaking, she would actively listen to her own voice, trying to identify areas for improvement. Was her rhythm off? Was she pausing too much? This self-correction, combined with external feedback, became a powerful tool for refining her pronunciation and overall spoken delivery. She joined online listening and speaking groups where participants would listen to a short audio clip together, then discuss it. This provided a safe space to practice both skills simultaneously, reinforcing learning through collaborative engagement and immediate application in real-time conversations. A pivotal moment came when Maya started focusing on how to think and speak directly in English. Initially, she would mentally translate every sentence from her native language, which caused significant delays and awkward pauses in her conversations. This process was incredibly inefficient and frustrating. She began by labeling everyday objects in English in her mind. Instead of thinking chair, she forced herself to think chair directly. This simple exercise, practiced consistently, gradually rewired her brain to associate concepts directly with English words, bypassing the translation step entirely, enhancing fluency. When she wanted to express an idea, she would try to formulate it directly in English, even if it meant using simpler vocabulary at first. If she couldn't find the exact word, she would describe it. This trained her brain to operate within the English framework, improving her spontaneity and speed. She started narrating her daily activities in her head, entirely in English. I am walking to the kitchen. I will make some coffee. It is a nice sunny day. This continuous internal monologue kept her brain active in English, making it the default language for her thoughts and internal discussions. Gradually, the mental translation process faded away. Ideas and responses began to flow directly in English, making her conversations feel more natural, spontaneous, and less effortful. This ability to think in English was the true sign of her emerging fluency, a remarkable transformation from her initial struggles. How to talk to people in pairs proved to be an invaluable strategy for her. Joining a language exchange program connected her with learners and native speakers from around the world. These paired conversations provided a low-stakes environment to practice her speaking skills regularly and receive instant feedback. With a partner, she could experiment with new vocabulary and grammar structures without the pressure of a large group. They corrected each other gently, celebrated small successes, and patiently guided one another through difficult phrases. This mutual support fostered a comfortable and effective learning environment. She realized that paired conversations allowed for much more speaking time compared to group discussions. This increased speaking practice was crucial for building muscle memory in her mouth and brain, making her feel more at ease and confident during spontaneous English interactions, leading to rapid improvement. Having a consistent partner also helped her track her progress and build rapport. They could revisit challenging topics, review previous mistakes, and engage in deeper conversations over time, pushing each other to higher levels of fluency and understanding in a personalized learning journey. The diversity of her partners exposed her to various accents and speaking styles, further enhancing her listening comprehension skills. Each conversation was a unique learning experience, broadening her perspective and preparing her for real-world interactions with a wide array of English speakers. Finally, why reading is important became abundantly clear to Maya. She initially found reading challenging, but persevered. It was the bedrock for expanding her vocabulary and context, far beyond what flashcards could offer, providing a natural way to encounter new words and phrases embedded in meaningful stories. Reading exposed her to diverse sentence structures and grammar patterns that she might not encounter in everyday conversation. It solidified her understanding of how English sentences are constructed, improving her writing and speaking fluency by providing excellent models of correct usage. She started with graded readers, then moved to simple news articles, and eventually to novels that genuinely interested her. Reading for pleasure, rather than just for study, made the process enjoyable and sustainable, fostering a love for the language beyond its functional utility. Beyond language acquisition, reading opened up new worlds of knowledge and cultural understanding. She learned about different perspectives, historical events, and diverse viewpoints, making her a more informed and articulate speaker capable of engaging in a wider range of topics with confidence. The act of reading also reinforced her listening and speaking skills by building a robust internal dictionary and grammar framework. The more she read, the richer her internal language resources became, allowing her to express herself with greater precision and nuance in her spoken English. Months turned into a year, and Maya's English transformation was astounding. The once insurmountable mountain of words had become a navigable landscape. Her once hesitant voice now spoke with newfound confidence. She understood that consistent, multifaceted effort was the true secret to English mastery. She no longer feared conversations. In fact, she sought them out. Her listening ear was sharp, her vocabulary rich, and her ability to think directly in English made conversations flow effortlessly. The journey was not over, but the initial struggle had given way to an inspiring sense of accomplishment and empowerment. Maya now actively shared her learning tips, advocating for a holistic approach that combined active listening, fearless speaking, and diligent reading. She emphasized the power of thinking in English and the invaluable practice gained from paired conversations, inspiring others on their own language journeys. Her story became a testament to the idea that learning English is not just about memorizing rules, but about building a relationship with the language, embracing its nuances, and consistently practicing every aspect. It was a journey of self-discovery, leading her to not just speak English, but truly live it.